In 1987, there was this document of the Roman Catholic Church, Dona Vitae, that says that surrogacy is morally unacceptable because it kind of introduces a third party in the union of the husband and wife. It destroyed the unitive nature of marriage, and it destroyed the reality of procreation. Then, a child is a gift. It's a gift from God. It's not like something I can go to the market and I buy it where I buy vegetable. The church is is against IVF. If the teaching of the church is against it, because it makes it's the mere issue of manipulating the reproductive system makes kind of destroys the dignity of man, because in reality the conception is done on a vitro. It's in vitro insemination.
You see, the church takes positions that, for me, are sometimes unrealistic. It's just like some things like abortion. When it is not legal, it resorts to underground activities.
Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone, and once again, welcome to your weekly, very important, educating Glasscast edition. In the past few weeks, we've been talking about family and health-related issues, and I believe most of you that have followed what we have been doing in the past find it intriguing, find it educative, and find it quite interesting. So we are continuing on that series, but we are coming on a different episode. If you want to enjoy this episode, you need to go back and watch the episodes we've done on DNA and paternity fraud, and the episode we've done on post-rate affecting men's reproductive health. And today, we are going to discuss a very important topic. So, for you to always get updates on what we are doing, make sure you like and share our page, spread it across, invite others to learn from our factual and evidential-based discussions. Now, let's go to the topic of today, baby factory. It's a subject that is becoming very common in the local parlance, but we want to look at it in a critical way. Is it actually baby factory, or should we address it more formally and in more respectful manner? So today, we are going to have a very interesting discussion. Sit right back and enjoy yourself this evening. So to discuss this topic with me today is our own dear sister by my immediate left, Reverend Sister Chizzy. Is an uncommon guest or unusual guest like we used to have. So it's interesting that we're having sister in our midst. Sister is well versed in social issues. So she's an educator, she's a spiritual counselor, and she's also a nurse. In fact, she belongs to the Institute of the Vocationists of the Universal Sanctification, which is a very global institute for education, health, and religious-related matters. So I wouldn't say much. I believe Sister will, in a way, introduce herself a little bit, and you would hear more from Sister. And also, we have Maze Barrister Iken Njoku in the house. And so it's going to be a very fun-filled episode that we're having this evening. So sit down, relax, and enjoy this session. So I want to say welcome, sister. Once
Thank
again.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we want to bring this issue of baby factory because it has become, a general subject every time, even within the Nigerian system, in other places, even though it's in the Nigerian or African setting that they call it baby factory. But how do you address this subject?
So I think is a kind of topic that is not well known in our side. We call it baby factory because we don't know the exact name. I think we should call it something like surrogacy.
Okay.
Okay, and it's a situation whereby a woman carries and gives birth for another individual or a couple. So what does that imply? That many a time people who go into surrogacy are people who have fertility issues. And in this part of the world, some of the women that go into it might be those of same-sex couples, like homosexuals, lesbians. They actually make use of this surrogacy. And maybe some individuals that just want to have a child, they can actually subscribe to it. So the idea of carrying a baby for another person or for a couple that has fertility issue could be seen in two ways.
Okay.
It could be seen from a biological prospect, whereby a woman who has difficulty in carrying a pregnancy can decide to subscribe to surrogacy. So they go through it through in vitro insemination, whereby the garment of the husband is being used or the partner is being used. In this particular case, the surrogate, the woman, is the mother of the child. Right. Then we have the gestational surrogacy, whereby the person involved is not biologically connected to the couple. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's not biologically connected to the couple. And the woman might be a member of the family, might be an unknown person who subscribes to it. And what happens when such a person subscribes into helping a couple or an individual? Two things are involved. Either the couple is going to, see her through the pregnancy, right? By sustaining all the expenses and everything, or it should be through a commercial way, which we call the baby factory,
Okay, I was gonna come to that. Yeah.
which brings us to exploitation, because this is what happens. Mazi, you should know better than me on this one. Which has to do with the third world countries. It is more of exploitation than helping or trying to assist people who are in difficulty. In our country, it happens there. In Nigeria, for Nigerians, this baby factory stuff is a business where young ladies subscribing to, in the name of surrogacy, children and young women are being exploited because of one's selfish desires or reasons. But in some countries, in the UK, for example, I don't think the legal aspect is the same.
Yes, sister, you are right. In the UK, commercial surrogacy is illegal. So you cannot enter into a contract with someone for the purpose of paying that person to carry your child. It's not allowed in the UK.
So it's
However,
more of a compassionate activity.
exactly. Even if you don't have any compassion for it, but at the end of the day, it is still legal for that person to do it for you. It is still legal for you to have an agreement for the person to carry your child. Except that you can't enforce that agreement if any dispute arises from it. So you can, of course, you are allowed to pay someone to normally run through the expenses of pregnancy during, the process of carrying the child. However, as long as it is limited to that extent, or the court allows extra expenditure. But outside that, you cannot enforce it. That's the position of the law in the UK. But I wanted to make an observation, ask sister this. I know that maybe the morality side of it might be why the UK does not want to make commercial surrogacy legal. Because I know that whenever things are so common that anyone who wants it can have it, especially a child, it doesn't really look proper. And I am one of those who want people to have babies, but I don't believe everybody has a right to a child. Personally, if you don't want to have stretch marks, you shouldn't get a child through surrogacy.
Exactly.
You understand? People like Paris Hilton, people like Kim Kardashian, there are instances of, let's not even forget those who had it through maybe gay couples, but women who are socialists, who are social
Socialite
media,
and,
exactly.
yeah.
So they don't want to have stretch marks, and they go in to have babies.
Barrister, are you saying that just for the some individuals, just for the sake of, I don't want to have stretch mark, then I don't want to have baby,
Definitely.
and somebody else they will want somebody else to have the stretch mark and have a baby
Because they can afford it.
That's why you are being paid.
Exactly. They can afford it. That's the reason they will pay someone to carry those babies. In fact, there are instances of people in India, for instance, who have been surrogate 10 times, an individual. Surrogate 10 times. And the morality aspect of it is what I feel uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable.
It's morally unacceptable. In 1987, there was this document of the Roman Catholic Church, Dona Vitae, that says that surrogacy is morally unacceptable because it kind of introduces a third party in the union of the husband and wife. It destroyed the unitive nature of marriage, and it destroyed the reality of procreation. Then a child is a gift. It's a gift from God. It's not like something I can go to the market and I buy it where I buy vegetable.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So if a child is a gift from God, and I know I can't, due to medical reason, I have other options like adoption. I can subscribe to adoption.
I was coming to this the area of the where the thin line exists between surrogacy and adoptions. But when you are saying on the moral ground that the church, because you made mention of it, let's
Sure.
address that aspect a little bit. If the church, because even in the Bible, in the church, there are women that are barren. Yeah, they could not conceive, and if the church says it's morally wrong for somebody who could not conceive but desires to have a child.
The church is
yeah.
not saying, sorry, I'm interrupting you. The church is not saying that it is morally wrong for a woman to have a baby. The church is saying that it is wrong for the woman or for whoever it is to make a human being and a product of his or her exploitation. That is the moral point of the church. So if you are barren, the church understands the situation of a barren woman. And the church understands that we have a lot of children. You might not know, but in many convents that have orphanages, we have a lot of children awaiting adoption. We can give life to those children. We can give them hope. We can support them and make them good citizens.
But would you force somebody to adopt when the person, maybe the person have visited an orphanage and maybe not being discriminatory, but people have choice of because you are now presenting options for them. When it's an offspring, they don't have choice. Is whatever comes out that they will take it. But when you are presenting them that option, don't you think people will feel a bit compelled
There's
by
something we
that?
call the social doctrine of the church. In the social doctrine of the church, what does that mean? The church will advise you on what to do, and it is left for you with your freedom to decide. So, the duty of the church is to advise you on what is morally right for you to do. And the
But
church
you don't have to do it, do you?
is left for you to make that
And
decision.
the church will not ostracize you if you do that.
Um, I don't know presently in Nigeria, because I know that if we can reflect on the reality of our people, in the past 6, 7 years now, we've been having a lot of twins, quadruples, triples. In most cases, those are products of IVF, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think the church has ever kind of fought those women directly. But the position of the church is clear. As a Catholic, you have no right to support anything that that involves the exploitation of human being and brings down the dignity of the human
So,
existence.
are you trying to say that maybe the church does not support the use of IVF?
The church is against IVF. The teaching of the church is against it, because it makes it's the mere issue of manipulating the reproductive system makes kind of destroys the dignity of man, because in reality the conception is done on a vitro. It's in vitro insemination.
Sister, this position of the church is making me a bit uncomfortable because
Make you comfortable.
if you are saying manipulation or management of the reproductive system will have to be managed.
So
If not, people will be giving birth every day.
Since I know the church is an autocratic institution, first and foremost, so they wouldn't mind to extend their hands into that social history.
Because where I was
way.
coming to here is, if the church is against this, and like we made mention of people having triplet, quadruplet, and all that, and if the church is against it, and some of the people that have the children attend those churches, is it that the church is just pretending not to be aware of
I
it?
say that the church teaches on moral basis
They don't compel.
against it. And the women who has had this gone through this process and had children, they've always come to the church to do Thanksgiving. I don't believe I've seen any video where any of them has been chased
And
out of the church.
I hope if any child that was conceived through IVF or surrogacy, maybe a male child decides to become a reverend father tomorrow, the church will not throw him away.
That's a good one. Maybe if they had asked, who is your mother? Who is your father?
The church doesn't go into your
private
life, like how your parents conceived you. Like a child is a gift anyways,
good.
but it is the duty of the church to remind us of the moral values.
Good. Barrister, I know you want to say something. I want to ask you a question, then you can add it to what you want to say. Okay. Naturally, when a child is born, the primary parent of that child is the mother.
Exactly.
So, in terms of surrogacy, right? At what point does that child belong to a different parent? Maybe the people that contracted or went into agreement for that process to happen.
Good. I wanted to draw on what you said earlier about adoption and the thin line that you, what you called thin line. I think in adoption, you wouldn't legally. It's not actually a thin line. There's a clear difference.
Okay.
You can adopt someone that you have no relationship at all with, and the effect of adoption is almost the same as the effect of a parental order when the child in a surrogacy is handed over to the intended parents.
I think you
Now,
need to explain this area more.
okay,
Yeah.
when the process of surrogacy begins, that means the surrogate has agreed to get pregnant and carry the baby for people who obviously are not able to have children, to have babies. When the child is born, the law, the UK law, I'm talking about UK law, I know other jurisdictions might differ. UK law requires that the surrogate mother must register the birth of the child. So if you go to the birth certificate, you will see the surrogate mother as the
mother
of that child. If the intended parents, those who entered into the agreement for the surrogate to have the child for them, if they intend the child to be handed over to them, they must make what we call a parental order, and they must make it within a given set of time, so that the effect of the parental order will then be, but with the consent of the surrogate parent. The effect of the parental order will be to transfer the parental rights from the mother, natural mother, the birth mother, to the intended parents. That's the effect. And at that point, it has the effect of giving them parental rights, which in the case of adoption also gives parental right to the adopted parents. So that's the where you can say they are similar, because the two parents are not the biological, as in the birth mother, but the effect of the orders in the case of adoption order, in the case of surrogacy, parental order when it's handed over. So the effect is to extinguish parental rights from the natural parents of the baby and transfers it to, the people who are now in charge of the baby, the intended parents and the adopted parents. So that is the effect that it has. Where I'm a little bit concerned is when UK parents go abroad.
I was coming to that,
You
because
can go ahead.
most UK parents go abroad to get this process done. I could remember during the time of COVID and there was lockdown.
Yeah.
And countries like Ukraine,
Yeah.
it became an issue because a lot of babies, their parents could not come
Exactly.
to take them. So I was coming to that. But if you want to throw more light on maybe having that child outside the UK jurisdiction, do they have like maybe international laws that connect countries for this procedure to happen?
There are international laws that controls generally the movement of babies, and the principal purpose is to avoid child trafficking, so that they will make sure that children are not being trafficked under the guise of surrogacy or adoption. The concern that personally I have is that even though commercial surrogacy is not allowed in the UK, the UK law does not look deep into the activities of those parents or those individuals that go outside the UK for the purpose of making surrogates. Because they can go, just as I said earlier, and meet a woman who has had 10 other children for other surrogates, for other intended parents rather, and meet the person and pay the person to still be a surrogate for them. And I understand some of these people, like in India, the conditions that they are given are so draconian.
Okay.
To the extent that some of them might even be told not to have any conjugal relationship with their husband, for those that have. Because whether you are a married person or you're a single person, you can be surrogate in those distant countries. So I am personally not comfortable with it. My position is that the UK should legalize it, because once it's just like some things like abortion, when it is not legal, it results to underground activities.
Yeah, it puts people's health at
Exactly.
risk. Yeah.
So if you legalize it, it will enable you to look into the activities of those intended parents, so that you will be able to see a way to make sure that it doesn't result to slave labor. It doesn't result to child.
I would disagree with you on that.
Okay.
Because, for example, you made mention of abortion. Legalizing it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't even solve the issue of somebody having a kind of backyard, as we used to say when we were growing up, backyard abortion. The thing is that these are processes. If I want to make something illegal, which means I must have another way of solving the problem. So if I want to keep abortion as an illegal act in the UK, I have to work within the circle of the teenagers. So I have to teach
I
them
mean, like to educate them.
sexual education,
Oh, okay.
give them what they need to actually prevent such from happening to them. So, but when you don't legalize, you make something illegal in a country and you're not doing anything at the other point, that is when the youth keeps on doing the same thing.
So, sister, do you think that the issue is lack of?
I am pro-life.
Yes,
so I
of
am
course.
against abortion. I'm against anything that destroys human life.
There is.
I understand.
There is. I know there are some positions you took that maybe sister may not agree. But you remember a few weeks ago we were talking about paternity fraud.
Yes.
And when sister was talking about different types of surrogacy, apart from the gestational surrogacy, there was the one sister mentioned a bit
biological.
earlier. Biological.
That's the traditional one where the mother is the surrogate is actually the mother of the child.
Okay.
And she can also she gets a donor who might be a partner or husband but there's something about that I wanted to clarify. Many a time singles want to have babies, so they go to the bank, the cement banks, to choose. So like an African woman, you just go and choose, you want a baby with a blue eye, with a blonde hair, mixed with your African genetics, and you have an idea of that. That's pure exploitation. You are not respecting the dignity of the child. You see where the church is coming from. In as much as it might seem reasonably right, but morally it is not, because it compromises the dignity of the child, of the human person, and it is pure exploitation.
So, what in a case where, in the Western world, I know people are open about a lot of things, but in some developing countries, I'll use Nigeria like for example, the issue of baby factory have become so popular that when people look at it from the negative side of it. And if you are talking about the biological surrogacy, where maybe the mother is okay, but maybe the father is not able to produce the things that could help make a baby, and they get another man to donate to the mother, and they have a baby.
How does that sound? How does what you're saying sound to you as an African man?
Yeah, because we're talking about issue of paternity fraud that we discussed the other time. It's still the mother, but another man maybe donated because of these biological problems.
I'm saying an African man. Mm-hmm. As an African man, how does that sound to you? You married a woman, and now you have issues. You now have to invite another man.
But as an African man, you are the one that have issues. And they're trying to help you out.
You see, the church takes positions that, for me, are sometimes unrealistic.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying this...
I want to hear more.
Yes. I was listening to one bishop who was discussing about the church's relationship with AI, relationship with technology, and all those stuff. This bishop had to draw an example with relationship the church had and mentioned Galileo.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it. How can the church use Galileo to give an example of their good relationship with technology? All of us know that Galileo, his main discovery was that the earth was not the center of the universe, for which the church dealt with him. In fact, Galileo died because of the punishment given to him by the church.
Because the church is always progressive.
Yeah, but the church, it killed Galileo, even though they didn't, end his life practically. But the conditions that they gave him, including imprisonment, led to his death. I'm trying to draw a connection with this surrogacy.
The church is wise.
The position of the church is untenable. I don't believe that anybody who wants a child should have one so that he doesn't get abused. But I believe there are people who are genuinely unable to give birth.
Exactly.
Those people should have the option of having children through surrogacy, whether it's gestational or partial surrogacy, just as sister said, is not in line with reality for the church to refuse those people their good parents, or they are a good couple. They can take care of children. And remember that we Africans, when you think of the fact that the child you are raising has some genetics with you, it brings bonding. But the position of the church is that, okay, there are many people to adopt, therefore you should abandon surrogacy and go and adopt them. What they don't want you to do is for you to have any relationship in terms of genetics with that child that you are adopted. Whereas I want that surrogacy because I want my child to be the biological, or the have genetics with my wife if the problem is from me, or from me if the genetics with me if the problem is from my wife.
Can I come in here? Guys, I want us, if you are watching this program, you can see that this discussion is getting really interesting. And we wouldn't conclude it with the views we have in-house. We want you also to give us your thoughts. Go to the comment section. Tell us what you think about this topic, because it's very, very interesting. Now, if I want to come to what Sister said, what the position here is, you shouldn't be picking babies like you are going to Primark or M&S to pick clothes. So that is not morally okay. And to an extent, I think a lot of people will agree to that.
But let me ask Mazi Kenna. I'm not trying to be so extremistic. What I'm trying to say, must everybody have a child?
No, everybody must have a child, and that is my position. You don't have a right to a child.
So, if by chance a woman can have a child, can she adopt a child and give that child hope?
She can, but remember, it's a choice.
It's a choice. The church is not forcing anyone. The church is just suggesting, making you aware of the moral consequences of such actions. The church is not trying to relegate barren women to a life of depression. No, the church understands their position. But what maybe is kind of triggering us much is our cultural background, where women without children are being stereotyped, they are being marginalized. That is the main problem. So instead of me being marginalized or stereotyped that I am a barren woman, people laugh at me, people treat me anyhow, then I have to go and get a child.
Sister, does your own church, the Catholic Church, recognize and accept a woman who is barren? For just they are barren, it's okay to be barren, it's not a problem. Because I know, in some churches, in the Pentecostal churches, in the miracle churches, they will tell you there shouldn't be any barren in the house of God. So that barrenness must be delivered.
So the church promotes nature.
Okay.
Nature is a gift. Either way it comes. So if a woman can have a child, you're welcome in it. Nobody is being chased out of the church. The church welcomes you. The church supports you. The church can as well encourage you to go for adoption. Yes,
Okay.
there is a place for everyone in the church.
Remember that the church doesn't see anything in somebody being poor. In fact, the church will tell you that blessed are the poor. I don't know whether they put for, is it this shall see God or theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So the church is not realistic. That's why our
The
African,
poor
as far as I'm concerned, our African indigenous
progress in the
system
kingdom of
is the
heaven.
best because it makes provisions for some of these things through years of experiences, practice, thousands of years.
You mean issues like surrogacy?
Yes, in our societies, you see people who are married and who are not able to give birth, and our Igbo society allows a woman who has not given birth to go and bring somebody from outside to give birth, and that child will become the biological child of the husband. It's allowed in our society. What I don't want is the practice of surrogacy that results in people, in the real sense, this thing that Tesco does, that they call bug off, buy one, get one free, is in surrogacy. That's the kind of practice that I want to be.
That is when it's commercialized.
Yes, when it's commercialized to the extent that they abuse it. In fact, surrogacy even results in people doing sex selection. You understand? They want a male child. So if the embryo does not result in a male child, it's removed, and until a male child arises.
And
So if we are to go by blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God, right? Why are we stressing ourselves so much in acquiring, sorry, I might use this word because it's kind of exploitation, I'm buying a child? Because whether I like it or not, indirectly or directly, I'm paying for it. So if it's the kingdom of God that is the last end, what I desire, why am I going extra miles to buy a baby? Can't I give life to an already existent one? Like through adoption.
Well, I don't know. I'm not arguing your position, but I'm just thinking because if you go by the position of the church, and this is interesting because we also need people that are not from Christian background, maybe other religious background, to also give us their views on this subject. Because if you look at the idea of God's creation in the Christian domain, is all about procreation. So if a child is born and that child is already born, so the essence of getting another child born through surrogacy is to continue that process of procreation to add to the child that is already born. So if people are no longer giving birth and they are adopting the ones that are already born, do you think it's encouraging that process of procreation?
So, adopting a child means a child that has no chances of survival, no family connection, an abandoned child. Giving the child life, giving the child hope is something worthy of a Christian. So, as a Catholic, you can find satisfaction, you can find that joy of motherhood in an adopted child.
Sister, I think you when you are saying it this way, I think it's more of contextually based because any child that is born in the Western country, in the UK, that child must be looked after. Is the primary position of the law. But I think we have to take it down a little bit to a context like Nigeria, where maybe an abandoned child is left to suffer, no food, no shelter, no clothing, and all that. But when I was looking at this issue, you discovered that there is just a handful of countries that actually have laws or legalized processes for surrogacy. And if you go to Nigeria today, every day on the mainstream media, on the social media, you see the police parading maybe 2 or 3 women saying, "Oh, this person sold a child, this person paid." Why is it that case in Nigeria? Is it that Nigeria doesn't have a legal framework to support it since it is already happening? Like you said, traditionally, and people that, are in this age are now using it as a transactional process. What could be done
So
differently?
in my years in Italy, I worked as an educator in the children residential home. And I will tell you this, in as much as the government takes care of the children, there is something lacking in their life. There's nothing like a child growing up in a family. Even if they are not your biological parents, there's freedom in growing up in a family, knowing there are two adults taking care of you, caring for you. Somebody you can call mama. That is it. The fact that they don't have a mother or somebody worthy to be called such becomes a problem. It creates a lot of psychological trauma in their lives.
So, what in the case of Nigeria? Let's look at it.
Let me come in here. Okay. If you look back on our earlier podcasts, we've discussed the issue about Nigeria, and my position. Somebody might call it extremist, but I don't believe that the structure that Nigeria has is working. It needs to collapse so that people can go their separate ways.
How does it relate to
how it relates to this is, I will draw the connection perfectly clear.
Okay.
In Nigeria today, parents in the north give birth and send their children as amajiris to go and beg. Today, as we are talking.
But that is more cultural.
It's Nigeria, and you see them walking about this. The point I'm trying to make is that people who are biological parents of children are not able to take care of them. And you're talking of people going to adopt children in Nigeria. When those who are biologically the fathers and the mothers are not able to take care of them, they are walking along the street. So children as young as 7 years are hawking on the street. Some of them, due to the insecurity, economic factor causing them to be hawking in the night, causes them to be kidnapped, causes them to have their organs taken, and the mother might not even know where the child is as at 8 p.m. So why would the issue of going to adopt those children be an issue? I don't think, if I want to have a child, I don't think I'll be satisfied for my loving wife to go and adopt if I know there is an alternative for me to have a child that is biologically related to my wife. Adoption cannot solve that problem. It's just like when you are thirsty, you can't drink Coke.
Like
you need to drink water.
Another man. You mean like bringing another man or getting or doing insemination?
Exactly. If I'm not able to, and I know that there is a sperm bank, just as sister said, that I can, go and seek a sperm, and my wife's egg is viable to fertilize that sperm, and there is a surrogate that can get pregnant and give us that baby that we long for, the baby who is biologically related by genetics to my wife, and you tell me to abandon that process because of the church, because of God, and go and adopt. I will not do that, because when I'm sleeping, my people will say that Amagihechi, because you don't have a child. Even if I want, let me name that child. What if the father comes, the real father of that adopted person comes tomorrow through genetics that we are talking? The person will check DNA and find out, oh, this is my child, though. And then what will happen when I'm 70 years? When I'm 80 years? And I don't have any biological child. As at that time, it is late. Sister, am I going to adopt again?
Mazi, is all biological children useful? I mean, you are talking about the patriarchal ideology of the Igbo man, where an Igbo man needs a male child to Onochiobi. Yeah. Now, is all Onochiobi useful?
Sister, some of these things, our tradition, some of them are even engineered by women. Oh, remember?
I understand, but the way you're talking about it, I've seen families where the firstborn is not actually coordinating the way he should. So we cannot generalize. Like,
No, I'm not
who tells
generalizing.
you that child is gonna take care of that Obi you're talking about?
You mean the
At your
child,
old age.
the
No,
adopted child?
I'm not referring to
To
you.
me, yes. I mean, you mean the adopted child?
No. I'm telling you, you say that if I know there's another way I can go for it, why can't I go?
Rhetorical question.
Yeah,
Sister
so
is
and I was
asking,
asking, okay, the one you are getting through insemination that might not be yours, but through the bank or whatever, who tells you that that is the right choice for you at your old age? That he will actually be that onochiobi that will keep the lineage going.
You know, this what sister is referring here, I could relate to some of the things I've heard. You know, some people adopted children, and when the children, you know, when they grew up, they became adult. They you know, they were displaying some antisocial behaviors that are not known in the family. You know, like they are stealing, going out, doing robbery and all that. And you see the parents regretting, oh, if I hadn't you know, adopted this child, maybe I would have had my peace of mind. So did you think
Yeah,
in
and
this direction as well?
I understand. Remember, that's for an adopted child. That even makes my case that you should have a genetically a child that that you have genetics
yeah,
with.
but you, this one you're talking about, the sperm that was donated, you don't know what is in the gene. What if they have this you know,
Madness.
characters in the gene that you adopted? Because at the end of the day, you'll
Yeah.
be blaming your wife.
Remember,
You may be thinking that it's from
Okay.
your wife background without knowing that it's from the what you went to buy with your money.
let us go with experts now.
Okay.
There's something that Sigmund Freud said. He said, "Give me any child and give me the environment. I will train that child in accordance with that environment." So, what he's trying to mean is that the environment controls the outcome of children. In other words, that if you are a parent, a good parent, and you are saying that the sperm that obviously you've gotten from a donor, maybe it's a thief that donated the sperm. If you go with this argument of Sigmund Freud, that person can grow up and become a reverend father if the person is trained in the church.
And he could be a reverend
You
father
understand?
that is stealing. If that runs in
Unless
the
reverend
DNA.
father is still, we should ask sister that.
Yeah, because you know, if you look at this way, you know, most communities that have thieves, let's use, you know, stealing as an example. Does it tell you that, oh, that is a stealing community? That's why they have an individual that is a thief.
Well, I think it's wrong for you to connect stealing to a biological fact of you presenting it as if it's in the blood. I don't think so.
Because there's no evidence of that.
There's
anyway.
no evidence of that.
Exactly.
There's no
And I
studies on that.
don't believe it. It still
So
makes my
we
case,
can-
sister.
your case is not made. please.
Well,
Your case is not made. What I'm saying is, for example, let's take, for example, you are not dyslexic, your wife is not dyslexic, and the child that came through in vitro insemination is dyslexic.
Okay.
Maybe because the donor has such
Condition
disorder
in their DNA.
in their DNA, okay, and that becomes a problem for you because it's a disorder
Yes.
that you have to know how to approach it.
But sister, you remember that for every negative case that you are making for the sperm, that obviously I'm going to get from the sperm bank, That same applies to the adopted child because you don't know the child.
Sure.
Exactly. So I don't think that it levels out your distance. As far as I am concerned, surrogacy is a good thing. And I just want control of it.
Now, it's a good thing. And how do we make it that good in the Nigerian system so that women are not being demonized and being called all sorts of names,
There is
baby
no
factory,
law. There
and
is
all
no
that?
law on surrogacy in Nigeria. There's no law. They have a bill.
Okay.
No law has been passed on it. So if the Nigerian system doesn't kind of make a decision if they are in favor of surrogacy or not, or if they are in favor of the altruistic surrogacy or the commercial surrogacy. So personally, from my religious background and belief, I hope Nigeria will actually kind of say
So,
no
so
to such
people shouldn't be
adult.
discriminated against, if I was mixing my word there, because there is no law for it and there is no law against it. So why is it that the Nigerian police every day they will put in their cameras and they are interviewing women? You know, you sold it for 1 million. Why not?
They're actually working for child trafficking. They call it baby factories, child trafficking. They've not seen it. I believe they've not seen it from that legal aspect of surrogacy. That the people gathering those young ladies in one place are actually
Exploiting them.
exploiting them for such business. And I'll give you an example. Recently, I have a case of a young lady who is pregnant. She's 4 months pregnant. So the mom doesn't want to, she's ashamed of her daughter's situation. So the only way to get off it was to speak with these baby factories, I don't know wherever they are. So the baby factory needs to take the child, take care of the mother. When she puts the bed, then she'll just come back without the child. You know what I mean? So I know, but the mom is so ignorant because every woman that puts to bed will, at a point in her life, need that child. It's not something like, okay, it's done. No.
Because there is a connection.
There
There
is
is
a
that
connection.
umbilical cord connection and all
there
that.
is a connection, a biological factor, an emotional factor that at a point, let's take for example, after doing the surrogacy for somebody, you get married and that person can't bear a child. No, the situation, she'll run mad. She wants that child.
Karma.
Exactly.
Is it
And she
karma?
will go extra miles
Exactly.
to get close to that
Could it
child.
be that karma happened then?
I don't really believe in karma.
I can't necessarily say that is karma, but in line with what you just said, sister, I read something about the fact that when women give birth, that the remnants of there's still some genetics of that baby in them for decades, remaining in them for decades. And that buttresses the fact that there is a connection,
There is.
even when you have given that baby in the UK, used the parental order to transfer, parental rights to the intended parents. Even when you have done that, that connection will still be there.
Now,
From-
just think about
Yes.
it. For 9 months, a young girl is carrying a baby. She's massaging this baby, she's taking care of it. And then she puts to bed naturally or whether with CS. She just can't live that experience. That experience remains. It's there. It
That
can't
is
go
that
away.
is if it's against her will, yeah. If the baby
Whether
was
against
taken
her
away
will
against her
or
will.
something she desired, it remains there. Childbirth is a unique experience. Some mothers will tell you that there's a different experience between this child and this child when they put to bed. They have different experiences. That is why our people always give names to children based on the experience the mother
Exactly.
had during childbirth.
Exactly.
So there's no way.
You see, that's exactly why I want the UK to control this thing beyond the level that they are at the moment. Because legally in the UK, you cannot remove a puppy from his mom when it's winning, when the puppy is, winning. But yeah, for the case of surrogacy, it's 6 weeks. Within 6 weeks, you can do that as long as 6 weeks has reached from the birth of the child. And this is exactly what I don't understand. You can't do it to a puppy, but you can do it to a human being. But if the UK goes beyond this legal landscape of surrogacy and introduces its commercial surrogacy, yes, we can do it, but we need tighter regulations.
Controls.
Part of my advice would be for greater rise of the birth mother.
The surrogate itself.
Yes, the surrogate. So that and when we think of this in the interest of the child, you will see that it is for the whole, I would say, for overwhelming benefit of that child, for the child to remain with the mother up until at least 6 months to 1 year, instead of the 6 weeks. Since that is happened that within 6 weeks, highest in the day after the 6th week,
and you don't think that those that are making the laws in their wisdom think that maybe 6 weeks is not enough to develop further connection between the baby and the mother, that if you leave it for 1 year and you separate them, is going to cause even severe emotional trauma if you do it at that point, because they have completed the winning process and they have this strong connection with the mother.
I think that's the reason, because the child is not meant to have that connection with the mother. So they need to break the ties.
But sister, the connection starts even from the womb.
Yeah, but see, when she continues breastfeeding the child, connection. When she continues breastfeeding the child, the connection is getting deeper. I think that is why you have a point there.
Yeah.
That is why they have to, cut it off on time. But I want to say something about Nigeria, because
I was coming to Nigeria. Go with it. Go with it.
So you are making reference to Nigeria as if Nigeria is a country where human beings are kind of regarded as living beings.
They are.
They are.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
human beings in Nigeria, Nigerians are doing well. Forget those people that losing their Nigerian identity.
Nigeria is a terrible place, but I will allow sister to make her point.
Okay, sister, go on.
So Nigeria is not working. Nigeria is not a good place because human beings are not respected. Human beings are not taken proper care of. That is why a young girl at a tender age can actually accept such an offer to live in a baby factory for months, years, just to be paid peanuts. Now, have you asked yourself, every time they keep finding baby factory, how come they don't find these baby factories on time until they will be so numerous that when they will not discover them, they are in their numbers?
It's corruption.
So I see that, yes, it's corruption. I see that also as a political factor. There are some people behind those activities.
Exactly.
There are some people who are making money out of it. So for you to survive in such activity, you must be giving a kind of amount of money to people.
Yeah. You are bribing the authorities.
So the moment you don't bribe them up to expectation, you are discovered.
Exactly.
So you mean the system is weaponizing poverty against the female population, against the women, for them to go into this activity?
The Nigerian system is just weaponizing everything to destroy the faith, the hope of the people.
Wow.
Look at our youths. They are all frustrated. They can do anything to survive. If not, why would somebody for months, weeks, walk in Sahara Desert, then enter a boat? We don't even call that a boat. because he wants to land in Lampedusa.
A dinghy.
Exactly.
And when you get there, if you survive, you now start again. They be in the camp. You can't leave that camp. For you to leave the camp, you have to escape. It's such a hard life for a country to be stressing its citizens that way.
I have asked this question before. I know, even though it's not our main topic here, but I've asked this question before. And the information I was getting is that most people that are engaging in such activities lack requisite information to what government is doing, the programs they are putting into place. And for example, our dear President Tinubu currently is giving student loan, but many people don't even know how to access those loans.
Can we go back to our topic?
Yeah, I don't want to digress.
Can we go back to
The way
our
you called
topic?
him, the way you called him, dear President Tinubu, like the North Korean man that they call their leader.
well,
Can we peacefully go back to the topic?
whether by choice or by any construct, he's still our president in Nigeria today. So the issue now becomes, because we made mention of the youth, doing japa, taking all sort of risk to survive. Is it not better we in Nigeria, the Nigerian legislators, put in a proper legal framework to commercialize this process, because it's going to create job. Like a lot of youths that are going all over the place looking for whom to rape, they will have a place they will go and start donating their semen, and they will get paid for it. And for
you call that a job?
Well, if it will save them from getting drowned in the sea, why not? Or even if it protects them
source of
from
income.
Yeah, and they are
I
getting
wouldn't
income,
call it a job.
and they are not committing.
That's
not a job.
exploitation.
They are
That's
not a job, but
exploitation.
that's
That's
source of
not a
income.
job.
But they are not committing crime. They are not.
It is
If
exploitation.
it will reduce
the mere fact that it's exploitation is a crime. If you are exploiting me, you are committing a crime.
Yeah, but
So the government needs to create empowerment for its citizens,
What?
not pushing them to donate their
it depends on what you call empowerment. Even in the Western countries, you go to a donor center, you donate your semen, and you get paid. So if you can do it in Nigeria, a lot of young men, if they can go there in a week and do the process and do the donation and get paid, it may help to reduce crime rate in the society. Don't you think so?
Sister,
It's not the position of the church.
No.
It cannot be the position of the church, of course.
Exploitation, and it is compromising the dignity of man.
Sister, if
Because
these young people do this process, get paid, they will still come to the church and pay tithe and offering.
Let's forget about tithe and offering. What I'm saying is that's not a job. Why can't we empower our youths to learn skills? Why can't we organize our educational system in a way that these youths can be actually educated? In the Nigerian schools, they do indoctrination, they don't educate children.
Exactly. I agree with sister.
You understand?
Yeah.
So when you educate a child, the child will know how to create. If you see a young man that studied business administration, he's not capable of starting a business.
Exactly.
What is the essence of spending 5 years in the university?
Exactly.
And then after spending 5 years in the university, you find the job of donating gametes in the bank. What kind of job is that?
As a source of income. That's why I go back to our tradition. Look at this tradition that we have in Igbo land of Igba boy. I understand that even Harvard, there has been a study of that business strategy in Harvard.
It's unique.
It's very, very unique. It's something that leads to creation of wealth and making of millionaires, if not billionaires. Yes, and it continues. There are such things that we should, honestly, I think that the system should look into the traditions that we had before colonialism, before all these white people came into the scene. Because if we look into it, and in this issue of surrogacy, introduce the traditional system that we have in Igbo land as part of our culture into legislation, that might arrest it, because it will give those who are not able to give birth an opportunity to have children
Well,
and give those children parents.
culture is specific. There are some part of Nigeria, maybe where one man, one wife culture is the practice, and not having a child will become an issue. But there are some culture in Nigeria where a man is free to marry up to 4 wives. So there may not be that pressure to begin to look for a child elsewhere. But I want to come to a sister. As we try to conclude, as an educator, what to that young Nigerian girl, to that young lady who has been exploited through these baby factories, going to give another baby to another person, what would be your recommendation or advice to that Nigerian young lady?
To that Nigerian young lady that's been exploited, and I wouldn't tell you to go through counseling, because many a time when I advise people to go through counseling, the Nigerians will say, "No, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. There's no problem." But the reality is that when you are hurt, it remains until you decide to be healed from it. And healing comes from speaking about it, putting it out, creating awareness. So you've been exploited. You need to accept this reality. It's a mistake. I have made it. Maybe I wasn't aware of its consequences, but I don't want to do it again. So the way I should be, what can I do to develop myself? So develop yourself so that you don't find yourself in a situation whereby somebody will have to pay you to do something for his or her selfish reasons. Right? So the power is developing yourself, accepting the reality, helping others not to fall into the same mistake.
Good. The barrister, do you
And
have
the
any?
church
Oh,
will
okay.
always support you. The church will be there to help you. If you want to talk to somebody, feel free. Walk into any Roman Catholic church. Ask for counselors. Ask for the priest if there is time. Allow yourself to be healed.
And for those that don't have access to the Roman Catholic Church,
As a Catholic consecrated, I don't make preferences whether you're a Catholic or not.
As long as
If
a
you are
Christian.
somebody in need, even a traditional person, I'm Igbo, so I love my people. You have a need, you need somebody to talk, and it is something I can help you. I can listen to you, because counseling means having someone to sit to listen to you. I wouldn't mind. And if something beyond my competence as a person, I can help. And I think every other consecrated and reverend father does that.
oh well, guys, you can say there is help out there if you have suffered some level of exploitation in this area. For the young and promising girls or ladies in Nigeria, the information here is there is help. I don't know if Barrister wants to say something before we conclude.
I just want to chip in that for me, I think the UK should legalize commercial surrogacy
What about Nigeria?
and then control it.
And other
In Nigeria,
countries?
we should make it state issue so that, because let us be realistic, Nigeria cannot control surrogacy in the north, where they're allowed to have four
Four
wives,
wives, yeah.
and give birth to 20 children. It will be difficult for us to do that. We should make it a state issue, which boils down to my point always, that we should separate that country so that we live our individual lives.
Well,
Exactly.
separating the country is it will be another topic that we'll come to. Thank you guys for listening to us. You would agree with me that this has been a very interesting and educative conversation. What I would want you guys to do is we would extend this conversation, because this is just an introduction to further discussions we are having, like IVF and all that. I want you to go to the share our page, like our page. Most importantly, go to the comment section, leave your thoughts for us so that we'll see how we can progress this conversation. Once again, thank you for listening to us, and thank you for your podcast. See you next week.